Nicole Reich, CGO at Blue Wheel. I am today with our VP of Sales, Zach Riegle. I work with him every day, and I'm super excited about this conversation. Zach, welcome to the eCommerce Exchange.
Thanks, Nicole. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Before we get started, I just have to give a quick shout out to Zach and to a lot of our U of M alum. If you didn't know, Blue Wheel is located in Michigan. Last night, U of M won the championship. So Zach, if you have anything to share, if you want to gloat, go for it right now.
I was just going to say, if I mess anything up, I'm going to blame a late night of being up reading all the articles about the Michigan victory. Yeah, very excited. 26 years in the making. So go Blue.
Awesome. So getting back to the work stuff, today we just wanted to start our eCom exchange this year with kind of 2024 trends. What are we expecting? Over the holiday, over the last month or so, it was a really good chance for us to reflect on what worked well, but then also what are we planning for in 2024? So Zach being one of our key employees talking to all of our brands, all of our partners, we thought it would be helpful to bring you on, Zach, and just get your input on what you're expecting, what you're planning for, and then hopefully set that up for our brands who are listening so that they can make their own kind of go-to-market and take this advice into their planning sessions for January. So with that, in general, we still have AI, omni-channel, social channels on the radar for 2024. What are you thinking at a very high level we should keep our eye on?
Yeah, there's a couple, and I like thinking about what's going to happen in 2024 because it helps us prepare accordingly. And so I think there's a lot of strategies and direction that we can take from these. But let's start with number one for us as an agency. For me personally, I think it's social commerce. So social commerce specifically for this conversation, TikTok Shop and the like, I think is going to have a really big 2024. Why is that? Couple reasons. One, early trends in the US are really promising. We're seeing creators and brands doing some really great things, especially in Q4. We expect that to continue in Q1 and throughout 2024. Secondly, as a predicator to US success, China has really taken ByteDance, which is the company in China that operates TikTok, and has pivoted and moved it into a social commerce platform at stunning results. You combine that with the fact that I think like 72% of US TikTok users say that TikTok moves them to make a purchase. And the ultimate kind of result is that there's a really great opportunity for social commerce. I think of all the trends that we're looking at right now, social commerce is probably the one that's most in early adopter phase. So the brands that are kind of harnessing it and the creators that are leaning into it are seeing success. I think the kind of boon is going to come with later or larger adoption by the market. So both by brands as well as users. But brands that are there are seeing less competition. So they are seeing a relative high return on their ad spend or a high return on their investment. So we expect to see that continuing. And one of the things, and I know, Nicole, you and I had talked about this, is this idea of being there for when this hits the tipping point. If you can be an early adopter and have a great return on investment, but a ceiling, awesome. And then when it hits that tipping point, you're in a position to capitalize on that. I know we talked about before, like what would have it meant to have 10,000 reviews on Amazon, or the first brand to have 10,000 reviews on Amazon, or the first brand to have 100,000 views on, or 100,000 followers on Instagram. Those are pivotal moments that you can ride and take the momentum into larger initiatives, larger success. So number one, I think from us as an agency, I think in general, kind of the merging of commerce and social has been on a collision course for a while. And I think 2024 is where you really start to see brands and creators take advantage and really lean into that.
Yeah. So we're talking about this one, like you said, more than any other channel or any other initiative. And I think from a high level where I'm thinking about it is more so Amazon 7 to 10 years ago, right? Where what you found was that the platform itself really tailored well to brands that could pivot quickly and be innovative and took the risk and also was able to move quickly from our operational perspective and then also make the investment into the platform, right? So taking a step back, just like a high level of how TikTok Shop works for any of those that are listening that are not on it, think of it as a marketplace. You tie the TikTok Shop directly to your ERP. When products are purchased, they either are fulfilled from your own warehouse or potentially TikTok warehouses, which we could get into that in a different discussion. After the products are sold, TikTok takes a market share fee. That fee was previously 2%, but I believe last week or in the last couple of days, it increased to 7 or 8%. And then after that it is up to you to grow the brand, to grow the sales. So this isn't like, you're selling products to TikTok and they're growing, the brand for you as a retail, right? This is a self-service portal. You get what you put into it. You are going to need several different things. One, obviously the TikTok shop itself. Two, as you mentioned, followers, right? Creative content like you would on any other social platform. And you'll also probably want to do influencers, which we'll talk about, Zach, and TikTok live shopping. All of those things together, those 5 steps, I would say is a good formula for success. But to your point, Zach, just because you build all of it doesn't mean that it's automatically going to return right away, right? We find that especially for a younger demographic, maybe those that don't interact with your brand in traditional retail stores, TikTok Shop is a really good way to attract the audience, as well as allowing them for the first time to convert right in the platform. So I think, as you said, Zach, I'm very excited about this one. We're running a lot of pilots with our brands. Some are blowing up right away. Some of them are not taking off as fast, as quickly, but that doesn't mean that we don't have some really big goals for 2024 on the channel. So I agree with you. That's definitely the top one. And just like Amazon and the other platforms, it will continue to evolve. So the TikTok shop we see today will not be the same TikTok shop 6 months from now, or even 12 months down the road. I mentioned the social commerce playbook, or the top 5 things that I would focus on. One of those is specifically influencer, and I think it's an easy one to talk about, but a fairly harder one to execute on. It takes a lot of manpower, it takes a lot of planning. So want to dig into that a little bit, Zach, with you of where do you see the influencer strategy going in 2024?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think influencer is a tangent. It's connected to social commerce in a very meaningful way. And, interestingly, I think a couple of years ago, some were predicting the decline of influencer, the death of influencer. And I think that has seen a big rebound for a couple reasons. One, from a social commerce standpoint, influencers are providing value. They're driving trackable revenue, not just to D2C, to Amazon as well. So I know, Nicole, a lot of our programs shift where we send our influencers to retail, to D2C, to Amazon. That is a really valuable tool to be able to create that content, that personalized content, which is what users want to see more and more of. The brand can tell the brand story, the brand voice, the big, pretty, glossy picture. But at the end of the day, consumers really respond well to a more personalized one-on-one evaluation and kind of review of the product and the brand. In addition, and something that I'll be kind of bringing up later, we are quickly moving to a cookieless world. Tracking in digital advertising has been on a decline for the past 3 or 4 years. Influencers provide a lot of that information that we're losing. And what I mean by that is, if you think about advertising, we're trying to stop the scroll, we're trying to capture their attention. We're trying to educate them on what the product does. We're trying to get them excited. We're trying to give them some sort of incentive. Well, if you think about it, influencers do that in one interaction. An influencer is stopping you in the tracks because their video is really catchy, because they're a content creator and they're good at that. They're educating you on the product. They already have your trust because you're following them. They show you how to use it. They get you excited. And at the end, they say, use my code for 10% off. That's essentially recapturing the digital marketing journey in one capsule, right? So with that, because it's single serve, because it's one message, you can then educate and send to Amazon with less loss than you would if you're doing advertising, right? Or to a retail partner in store or digital with less loss that you would typically have from advertising. So we expect to see that increase. If you've ever been on a sales call with me, I will proudly tell you that influencer is my favorite marketing dollar, because the dollar you invest in influencer, you get awareness to new eyeballs. You get content from that influencer that you can then use on TikTok for TikTok Shop or elsewhere. And you're also getting trackable revenue. what other marketing initiative can you think of that you get awareness, content, and revenue back for the single investment? I can't think of one. So it's one that we were bullish on last year, and we continue to be bullish on this year. And I think the market and the trends are reflecting that as well.
Yeah, I think, Zach, one other thing on the influencer and a big benefit that we're seeing is that you can repurpose that content across multiple platforms, right? So the other thing is that as we go more social, as the marketplaces require more assets, whether it be video or imagery for, I'll speak to Amazon for a second, your Amazon store, your PDPs, right? These influencers, a lot of times you're able to repurpose that content. You're able to repurpose that on commerce or on social commerce, maybe on your website, or depending on the agreement with the influencer. But it does give you another place to create content. And I think one of the struggles that I still continue to see, and I'm sure it's going to be a problem forever, and it has been a problem going back over the last several years, is brands' ability to create content quickly and affordably, right?
Yep.
And that's always been a challenge. And what I would say for 2024 is lean into those influencers more. Think about how you could repurpose that. And there's probably some savings there as well.
I think the other really great thing about influencer, specifically for platforms like TikTok, they're able to speak the language of TikTok. They're able to understand what's trending, what's in the zeitgeist. For marketers of, increasing age, because, I'm we do not have those insights, right? We do not know what's trending. So instead of making your marketing department adopt a new platform that they are unfamiliar with and try to dive into the trends, use your influencers, use your content creators who are going to naturally know what's trending, and they're going to be able to build your brand into those trends instead of you trying to wedge it in there. So just another advantage of using that, using an influencer across your marketing. Circling back to the cookie list discussion of 2024. And what we mean by that is Google specifically is removing cookies from their Chrome browser, bringing to conclusion kind of a long trend towards removing tracking on digital marketing. And what that means for marketers is that we have less control of the audiences and the third-party data that we're working with. So what does that mean for trends in 2024? A couple things. One, we need to rely on server-to-server data more than we ever have. We need to rely on publisher data. And this is less of a trend and maybe more of a prediction, is we're going from a cookie environment to something I've heard called a donut environment. So a donut in this case is a decentralized cookie, which is very clever. The idea being that it could be a Web3 principle where we actually bring the cookies with ourselves, right? So this is what I've heard for 2024 and beyond, is that the individual will be more responsible for the cookie, which could lead to an expansion of digital marketing opportunities. I would say for what we have right now, it's really, really important that you have your 1P data. So you have your walled gardens, your social media, you have your influencer data, and you're continuing to mine and clean that data. Nicole, I know you're working pretty closely with our AMC and DSP teams. What can you share from those interactions?
Yeah. So, I mean, definitely a lot of passion, on your side, Zach, on the influencer and social commerce. Absolutely. When it comes to the marketplace side, I would say specifically for Amazon, DSP and AMC are at the top of my list of what we want to prioritize for our brands this year. We did a huge initiative with some of our brands in Q4 around Thursday Night Football, for example, around testing pilots for DSP, doing smaller budgets. If we go back a year from now, it was tough to get the brands on board of the investment from a dollar perspective. And now with AMC and with the results that we're already seeing, we have these case studies to come back to them and say, let's try it. Let's allocate additional budget and maybe take away from some of the sponsored ads to test out what DSP looks like. Why do I like it? The number one thing I would say is that you're getting that first party data. Zach, you just talked about the cookies, right? That's more on the organic side, but on the paid side, Amazon might be the one and only place that you can see exactly where your ad dollars are going, right? Because they have all of the customer data, because they have all the prime customers. You can make really good decisions about your audiences. You have the ability to look at all of their inventory plus other inventory that you're used to when it comes to the display network. And then on top of that, when you feed in AMC, Amazon Marketing Cloud, you can see how all of these things fit together. So as an example, we work with some brands that sell through third-party sellers, and they've always been challenged to be able to control the advertising efforts in the right way, because when they spend, they can't see the sales because a lot of the sales come from sponsored product ads, right? With DSP, you're able to see all of that ad revenue regardless of who the seller is, or who the 3P seller is. You're also able to send it pretty easily to Amazon or to your D2C efforts. So it can go in or out. And again, being able to see your Amazon data for sponsored ads versus your DSP data and bringing that together has been really effective. And we're seeing that with those metrics, our dollar goes a lot farther.
That's really interesting. What are you expecting from like a cost per click perspective?
Yeah, so we are continuously tracking quarter over quarter, year over year CPC trends by category on both DSP and on sponsored product ads. And as you would probably expect, they are steadily increasing, right? Not only are the CPCs increasing, but they are also, we're seeing a big shift in organic versus paid on Amazon. And I know we've talked about this before, but it's another good time to say it. What you relied on for organic revenue going back 3 years is completely different than what it is today, right? And because of that, it's even more so every day it gets more competitive in a pay-to-play platform. So again, with those insights, yes, you're spending more, but at least you're seeing the return. At a minimum, you're still seeing that return. And it's really a marketer's dream because you can get, again, really clear insights on how your customers are going throughout the funnel and how they're engaging with the brand. So really excited about that. Cool. Well, closing out today's session, Zach, thank you for joining today. I know that you and I hopefully will be able to do this in another couple months, and we can come back to these insights for what we're expecting out of 24 and then compare them to some of our actuals. So again, thank you for joining.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.